All right, today we're jumping into one of archaeology's greatest detective stories. It's the century-long hunt for a city that, well, it just vanished. A place that's absolutely central to the life of one of the most influential figures in all of human history.
Imagine this, a great city, Piprahwa Stupa, the capital of the Sakya clan. For hundreds of years, it was a thriving center. But by the 12th century, poof, gone. It was so completely wiped from the landscape that its name, its very existence, was basically forgotten, completely swallowed by the earth.
So for the early archaeologists, trying to find it was a total wild goose chase. They had these ancient texts, accounts from pilgrims, but zero physical proof. The hunt for the lost city of Buddha was officially on. And let me tell you, it was going to be filled with some incredible discoveries, some really bitter rivalries, and even a bit of good old-fashioned fraud.
And you know, like so many great mysteries, the first real breakthrough didn't come from a famous archaeologist. No, it came from a totally unexpected source. Here's how it all got started.
I want you to meet William Claxton Peppe. He wasn't some world-renowned archaeologist. He was just an English landlord who happened to have a very curious eye. Near his home in a place called Piprahwa, India, there was this large, strange mound of old bricks, and he decided, hey, I wonder what's under there. So in 1897, he starts digging. He cuts a trench right into the heart of this stupa. By January of the next year, 1898, his team is about 18 feet down, digging through solid brick, when suddenly their tools hit something hard, something that definitely wasn't supposed to be there.
And what they found was just wow. A colossal sandstone box weighing more than 1,500 pounds. It was so heavy they had to rig up this whole system just to haul it out of the shaft. And the big question on everyone's mind was, obviously, what could possibly be so important that it needed to be protected by this much stone?
When they finally managed to get it open, the mystery just got deeper. Inside were 5 beautiful small caskets. 4 were carved out of soapstone, and one was made of this shimmering, incredible crystal. Now, these weren't just any old containers. They were reliquary urns, designed to hold something sacred.
And they weren't alone in there. Packed right alongside them was this breathtaking treasure. We're talking hundreds of tiny gold flowers, precious jewels, all these beautiful beads. Clearly, this was a burial of immense importance and reverence. But for who?
Well, it seemed like the answer was written right there on one of the caskets. A message in stone that looked like the absolute smoking gun that could solve the entire mystery of Piprahwa Stupa.
If you look closely, you can see these faint scratches on the lid of this soapstone urn. It's an inscription written in an ancient script called Brahmi, one of the oldest in India. And what it said, well, its translation sent absolute shockwaves through the academic world.
It explicitly states that these are the relics of the Buddha placed right there by his own people, the Sakyas. Can you believe it? A landlord just digging in his backyard had apparently found the family stupa of the Buddha himself. Case closed, right? Well, not quite.
Because this is where our story takes a really dramatic turn. At the exact same time, another scholar was pushing a very different theory, and as it turns out, he was willing to do pretty much anything to prove he was right.
So now you have 2 sites competing for the title. You've got Pepe's site at Piprahwa in India with its incredible inscribed relics, and then about 15 miles away you have another site in Archaeology, Nepal, which was being championed by a German archaeologist named Alois Anton Führer. Führer was absolutely convinced that his site was Piprahwa Stupa, and he was determined to prove it.
And let's just say Führer's methods were unorthodox. In his frantic search for proof, he basically ransacked ancient sites, destroying multiple stupas in the process. He even tried to get fake inscriptions carved to back up his claims. The whole deception only came to light when a historian, V.A. Smith, paid a surprise visit and pretty much caught him red-handed. But here's the really crazy part. Even after exposing the fraud, Smith couldn't totally shake Führer's theory. The guy had created so much confusion that Smith ended up proposing this bizarre idea, that maybe there were 2 Piprahwa Stupas. He even admitted he had no idea why that would be the case. His confusion just muddled the entire debate for decades to come.
So the controversy just raged on for years, with most scholars actually siding with the fraudulent theory of Tallarakat. The amazing truth that Peppe had uncovered at Piprahwa lay buried, not just by dirt, but by all this academic confusion. It was going to take a new investigator to finally set the record straight.
For 75 long years, and then, in 1971, an Indian archaeologist named K.M. Srivastava decided to reopen the case. He went back to Piprahwa, absolutely convinced that Peppe had been right all along. He started a really careful, methodical excavation, determined to find what everyone else had missed. And in 1973, he found it.
While digging in a monastery nearby, his team unearthed dozens of these small, baked clay seals, and the inscription on them was undeniable. It read, Om of the community of monks of Kapilavastu. It wasn't just a stupa. This was the monastery of Kapilavastu itself. This was it, the final nail in the coffin of the whole controversy.
And just like that, the mystery was solved. After almost 100 years of dead ends, fierce debate, and outright deception, Kapilavastu had finally been found. It was right there, at Piprahwa, the whole time.
That stupa that W.C. Peppe first laid eyes on is now recognized for what it truly is, a direct physical link to the historical Buddha, built by his own family to house his remains. A forgotten ruin has, at long last, reclaimed its rightful place in history.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The story of Kapilavastu was saved by a curious landlord and a persistent archaeologist who wouldn't give up. It just leaves us with this one fascinating question. How many other lost histories are still out there, just waiting for someone to start digging?